And exhale. Whew. Playoff baseball, man. Nothing like it. Nothing like it to get the heart racing.
You win the first one. Last 2 years, it's been a sure thing. Does history continue to tell us that story?
If history's right, the series is over. Still have game 2 today. But, John, game 1, it brought you back to the emotions of playoff baseball. It's the 9th inning. You got the bases loaded. You're pitching your second reliever in the frame, and you need to get out of this. It's a 2-run game. You need to get out of this. You've led the entire way, and they do. But when he made contact,
oh my goodness,
it's a line drive to the right side of the infield. I'm going, oh no.
I bases loaded, and first of all, even before contact, you're thinking you can't walk in the next run. Like this can't be what's happening. These are what's going through my mind, and then all of a sudden the liner. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, no, this goes to the corner. Could they, not only are they going to tie it up, could they score all 3 and walk off?
I was just thinking, not like this.
I certainly didn't want to go to extra frames.
Not like this. You're right.
I thought Brisky was dancing around a little bit, and probably the tightening of the sphincter in terms of, hey, you eventually got to throw a strike. You can try to paint and nibble and do all this stuff all you want, but, there was just that playoff aura and a little more tenseness in it, but I'm glad he followed through, and you can't because the walks are the worst.
You're right. He was falling behind.
What I knew, he's got a grin on his face, like I said.
You said sphincter, so that's got him.
No, that's not it at all. No, not at all. I'm just smiling because the Tigers. I'm thinking about another home game at Comerica.
Well, okay.
And I know that's way too early. I know they haven't finished anything, but when you win the first game and you start thinking about what has happened the last 2 years, you win the first game, you win the series, and I'm just thinking about what it would be like to have a home game.
Okay, so it's not way too early. They're 1 win away, and people have started thinking about it because if they advance, Saturday is game 1 of the ALDS in Cleveland. Monday is game 2. Detroit would host game 3 and 4 if necessary, but game 3 would be Wednesday of next week. I don't think you're wrong for looking at it based on history, based on the fact that the Tigers are playing better ball than Houston lately, and that they are in complete control of the series. I thought that was a huge part of yesterday's game is that A.J. Hinch was in control of the chessboard because the Tigers scored a couple runs early. And, of course, it's the gritty Tigers. It's the 8-9 hitters with 2 outs, of course. Now, they left 11 on base, and there's some missed opportunities, but they were running aggressive. They were making contact. They chased Valdez out of the game, and Skubal ended up pitching 6. They were in control. AJ got to get Carpenter into the game. He got to get Colt Keith into the game. He got to play his matchups. He got to use Holton at the end of the 8th. I think Foley was the right move to start the 9th, and he didn't leave him out there too long. It was the minimum plus a bunter, and he got him out of there. But AJ was in control of that game, and now AJ's in control of the series, which is why it's not too early to start thinking about it.
And what was so exciting about yesterday was, like you mentioned, 3 runs early and with 2 outs, all of the things that you're, okay, this is the opportunity. And as soon as they start knocking in runs, and you've got Skubal on the mound, but then it seemed like every inning they were on the attack. There were base runners. And yeah, you don't want to strand as many, but you got to give yourselves opportunities. The more opportunities, eventually something's going to happen. Fortunately, they took advantage of the first opportunity.
Well, and it put pressure on them every inning. It made more stressful pitches for their staff in a series where you got to empty things out and go for it every single game. Pressure. It didn't feel like the Tigers felt the pressure. This is a young baseball team, 12, 13 rookies, right? This is a group that doesn't have postseason experience. I thought AJ, after the game, saying it didn't look like the moment was too big for these guys. This team played as loose as they played the last 7 weeks of the season. I thought that was as important as anything because there would have been this idea, okay, they're the Astros, right? These guys have played 100 playoff games since 2015. They're experienced. The Tigers came out and had the right approach.
Oh, yeah.
The moment was not too big for this baseball team.
No, the importance of scoring runs early helps relieve the pressure, especially when it's the bottom of the lineup. You get a 3-0 lead, it's a lot easier to play than, it's still 0-0 in the top of the 7th and your ace is out of the game or something like that. By the way, it never gets mentioned this way, but a great example of why not to bunt. in that ninth inning. Thank you, Astros, for giving us an out because that was tense. And I'm not sure Tigers get out of it. I know you advance the runners. You put the winning run at second.
You take the double play out of the game.
You take the double play. I get all that. But a lot of times it only gets glossed over and talked about when it works or when you don't bunt. But when you do bunt and I'm glad they gave up an out.
Because they needed it for confidence. Like Foley was reeling at that point. And yeah, thank you for the free out in the ninth inning.
But it's also the Tigers with so many young players were able to feel that pressure. They're able to learn that lesson in a win because things got tight in the eighth, got even tighter in the ninth. And to be able to come out of it with a win, I mean, we always talk about the inexperience in the playoffs. And at some point, there's going to be something that costs the Tigers because they haven't been in these situations. They're not built the same as other teams. They are winning. But if you're going to have that pressure, whether it's pitching staff, it's the field, it's at bat, but you're able to come through in a win, now you start to stack that experience on whatever is next. And you stack that experience on whatever is next.
It was Michael Kay who had the call, who said at the end of the game, and just like that, the Tigers have playoff experience. Mm-hmm. That's how that works. Once you play a playoff game, it's not so scary. I mean, it's nerve-wracking.
Oh, for us, it's still going to be scary.
Heart-racing, but for these players, they're like, oh, this is just a baseball game. And if we go out and we attack it the right way, we can win. Well, these guys aren't invincible. Nobody is invincible. The Tigers feel like the team that's invincible at this point.
How were you watching the ninth inning?
Pacing.
I'm really curious as to how everybody was watching the ninth inning. Tom, how were you watching the ninth inning?
Well, Jim doesn't know this. He asked me this when I walked in this morning. Our TV was experiencing issues yesterday.
Oh, no.
So about the seventh inning on, I couldn't watch. So I went to the Odyssey app. It's a great listen.
There you go.
And everything's going smooth and attention. And I could tell, especially my 15-year-old son Connor was picking up on the every pitch battle of playoff baseball when they got, runners on in the ninth. You're trying to close the deal. And we get to, what was it, the last pitch to Hayward, and my phone rang literally as Dan was ready to call it. And it was somebody from here with a legitimate thing that had to be addressed. But when my phone rings, it turns off the Odyssey app.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the final call. So I killed that call like within a half a second, but the app still didn't come back on. So I had to go reopen the app, and then I hear, great first win. Very anticlimactic in the Milliken household.
Yes. For me, I was running around yesterday afternoon, picking up kids, dropping off kids. So I was listening to the majority of the game on the radio, and I found it very comforting to listen to Dan. I thought it was great. And then I get home, I'm in the kitchen, I'm doing some things, getting ready for dinner, and I'm watching, I've got it on my iPad. And then it was so stressful because I was walking back and forth, and I'm nervous eating at the time, and I'm doing all of this stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I was comfortable earlier when I was listening to Dan, so I muted. I still wanted to be able to see it, and then I turned on Dan on the Odyssey app, and it was easier for me to go that route.
Comforting?
And listen to it was comforting. It was a friendly. I was listening to a friend, and it took me back to Ernie Harwell when I was a kid, listening to all those great moments. It just made me feel comfortable and gave me some confidence. And then the Tigers come away. So I'm curious, everybody else, how did you take in, especially the ninth inning?
Yeah, 248-539-9797. I was standing for most of that game. And I was definitely pacing at the end of that game.
Oh, my goodness.
It's just nervous energy. And we haven't had that feeling in a long time. It's a great feeling when your team wins.
You can't sit down.
No, you can't sit still. That was theater. It was drama. It was everything playoff baseball is supposed to be. And it's the Tigers who are 1-0, one win away from advancing, one win away from home playoff games coming back too. I want to just hit something in that ninth inning because I saw this debate about why Holton didn't stay in. So Holton got the final out of the eighth inning. And they had Yordan Alvarez do up a lefty to start the ninth inning. And AJ went with Foley, and it didn't go well for Foley, so people were saying, well, why didn't Holton stay in? I think AJ did the right thing. Alvarez is actually better against left-handed pitching. And if Holton had stayed in, he would have had to face the 3 minimum batters. So he had faced 1, he would have had to face 2, which meant Alvarez and Bregman. So essentially 2 guys that like to hit lefties. So AJ went with Foley, who has neutral splits, who actually was the better matchup against both of those bats. Now, it didn't work out that way, but AJ played the numbers, which is what he's done all along, and then he didn't leave Foley in too long. The minimum plus a bunter, he got him out. Brisky got the outs at the end of the game. I think AJ actually managed it well, and in doing so, secondarily, it frees up Holton to open the game today.
Yeah, he was thinking about the next inning, which is today.
First inning, 2:35.
Tyler Holton.
Back out there.
Yep.
Tyler Holton. He only threw 2 pitches.